Kemba was
So
there.
He had 7 assists, which was good to
Yeah.
see.
But the other thing, the streak of assists with Kemba, I think that's like
it's real.
it's 6 straight games now, I think, with 5 or more or 6 or more assists. I forget what it is. But it's definitely something real, and it's definitely something that Sherrod talked about it last game. Definitely matters because you're talking about him kind of redefining himself and making an impact in some way, whether it's in the way that he's normally accustomed to. What's funny is I think it was it Shaq saying it? And who cares what Shaq and Barkley say? They don't watch basketball. I don't even think they watch the games that they're talking about on the night that they're on TV. But I don't. I really don't. I literally don't even think they're watching the Celtics game, when they go to talk at halftime. But he was saying Kemba's around 18 now. He's got to get himself to 22 points per game in the playoffs if Boston's going to go anywhere. And I completely disagree with that. I don't think that that's what he needs to be at all. I would actually rather this version of Kemba that takes the offense when it's there, and is a little bit more of a facilitator and does more things. We saw his line last game, the rebounds and assists. I'll take 7 assist Kemba. I'll take 7 assist, 14-point Kemba any day.
Depends on how we get those 14 points. I mean, tonight he was 4 for 7 shooting, and that's great.
Yeah.
But if he's like 4 for 17 shooting with 14 points,
different.
It's not.
But that's why I'll take efficient Kemba.
He's reaching.
It worries me. So I can never tell whether it's a decision for Kemba saying, I'm doing what the game needs and I'm going to shoot less, or feels for some reason he can't get his shot. Because that's always the worry is like, is there anything physical behind him feeling that like, I can't get to my spot today, so I'm not going to be trying as much? Or it's just this isn't a game where you need me. JB's hot and I'm just going to move the ball around. If it comes to me and an opportunity to score, I'll take it. Was it a passive game for him in that regard? Is he deciding that he wants to, this is how he wants to play it? Because when he has these really low shot games, sometimes it's matchup. It's like, specific, but I don't know. Why do you think those kind of come up from time to time?
Well, I think tonight, this was more about end of the road trip. JB's got it going on. We're just going to ride him all the way back to Boston and get this win. I think you're right. I do think that he does have games where the matchup more than anything else dictates how aggressive he is as far as looking for a shot. But again, that gets back to what I was saying the other day about how I like the fact that Kemba is figuring out ways to contribute and not have to score to do so. Because I think when he first came here, that's kind of what they were expecting and looking for him every single night. And I thought that was a problem with that because remember, in Charlotte, he scored a ton of points, but he wasn't efficient with it.
Yeah.
And so I didn't have a feel for whether he could make that transformation to becoming an efficient scorer when he's been in the league for damn near a decade and hasn't been. Yeah. So what's he going to give me other than points? Can he do other things? Can he rebound? Defense, I'm not even going to worry about defense because Kemba's always going to be at some disadvantage at that end of the floor. Can he do other things to help us offensively? And Kemba's doing that. His rebounding, his passing, and along the passing, he's also keeping the turnovers low. That's another part. Because I think he had like 2 turnovers tonight, and so 7 assists. Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, it's really important, especially Saturday. I think Saturday night's going to be such a great test. Steph Curry is doing his thing, obviously trying to will his team into a better, playoff positioning. And, it's Saturday night at TD Garden. The lights will be bright and everybody's going to be, playoff atmosphere. Players will be really competitive. And I think this is a great opportunity for Kemba to demonstrate what he can do if he's not, the most best, the greatest defender against shiftier guards like a Steph Curry. I think it's going to be interesting to see how Marcus Smart, is able to defend that. But of course, Kemba is really interesting because on the offensive end, like you said, Sherrod, and we talked about it the other night. I mean, if he's not feeling it, if he's not hitting those 3-point shots, he has to be effective offensively to get guys their shots. Make sure guys are put in their good position to score while also, of course, taking care of that basketball. Jaylen Brown, sometimes he's racking up those turnovers. John, you talked about it. We saw what happened with the team as a whole. How all those turnovers in the second half, how the Lakers were able to come back. I mean, you can't do that against the Warriors. You can't really do that against any team at this point of the season for the Celtics team trying to find this identity or at least turn this final stretch here. They just can't. I just think they have to clean it up more. Obviously, the second half, you walk away from this Lakers game thinking that, but also you go into this Warriors game implementing cleaner basketball offensively, and specifically seeing how Kemba Walker is going to do in this matchup against Steph Curry.
They got to stay on the string defensively. I mean, that to me, we can go through all of the great scoring that JB's doing, and Tatum is killing everyone, and Kimba's keeping turnovers high, or excuse me, assists high and turnovers low. But it's their defense that's winning them these games. You know, they've been like bottom 5, bottom 10 for a good part of the season. You look at the last 10 games coming into this, I think they were like maybe 4th or 5th in defensive rating.
It's all a choice, though. You know, like I know
Right.
Bobby will talk about personnel, and certainly Tristan has helped. It's really all a choice. You could see early in this game, their rotations, they were just moving. There weren't a lot of early looks. Then they fell out of it a little.
You didn't call timeout once.
Yeah, then they fell out of it a little bit, and you could see all of a sudden LA started getting some early looks. So, it's not just this year. It's not just this team. It's basketball. Defense is a choice. You know, it always is. It's just whether or not you want to fully commit to playing full effort. And again, a lot of people make the case, you know, this year, the reason teams aren't doing it, tight packed schedule, short rosters, COVID lung, all of these factors. There's a lot of people. It's like, am I really going to friggin' run around here
it's
crazy?
Connectivity too with the unit.
Yeah.
And when you have guys moving in and out of the unit too, that destroys some of the cohesion in these groups, as well as lineups. I mean, we can all look back on that Tice Thompson thing and say that was never going to succeed defensively.
But you have to just recognize that, like, you know what? We tried it the other way and it didn't work. So the only way we're going to be able to get back and win and get on any sort of consistent streak is if we commit to it. And you see them having done that more so over this little
playoff
stretch.
Time, you better.
And so you kind of you talk about flipping a switch. It's nice to know you can do it defensively, because you have to be able to. That's the most perplexing thing about this team all year. Like, it's so easy to bitch about the offense and not getting enough scoring from the bench and this and that, but ultimately, just decent defensive effort and two superstar players should have this team 10 games over 500 without really trying. You know, but look at all these games that they lost to Washington's and New York and just. Not New York's not a bad team, but I mean, how many bottom feeders have they dropped games to by just not showing up or not giving it an effort? Way too many this year. So
sure. I want to throw in one more thing on Kemba. The stats are just astounding for him this month, because if you look at his numbers, it's probably the worst shooting month he's had since the first month coming in off that injury. Yeah. But it's the best he's fit with the offense when you think of assists, ball movement, rebounding, stuff you talk about, just finding a role within that unit, defense even. He's been a part of an effective defensive group with this team. And that assist to turnover ratio, 49-11, for a team that has turned the ball over a ton this year. That was his most important attribute last year, is he kept the turnovers low, he controlled the ball, and he hasn't been, I mean, this month he's averaging over 7 assists. He's never been that guy in his career. But this is what you said, John.
He's never played with guys who could let him be that guy.
Right. That's what's in. Again, it's
Gilchrist is not going to get it done.
It's so funny seeing the chat. There's a ton of people in here who are viewing this game as a trash game and get rid of him. And it's like, like I said,
I've been blown away by him this month.
I think again, I don't know about blown away.
How about that Portland performance though? He found Rob. He was finding shooters.
He had to address that right away. That was funny.
But like I said, there's no reason to make the point with hyperbole. Like, Cornette's not starting, and I'm not blown away by 7
this is a guy for a guy who dishes 4 assists a game in his career, to be getting 7 every night now, that's significant.
Again, it's 7 assists. You can't get blown away by an average number
from him.
From a point guard.
From him, I am.
But you can be happy. You know, he had a good game tonight. Okay?
He's a scorer. He's a score first point guard. And he's been that his whole life. Now he's adjusting to become a facilitator.
Well, this is the conversation Bobby, we're having. Right.
We can't ignore the fact that he's got a significantly better cast.
He did last year too.
Yeah.
And he was learning how to play with those guys last year.
Yeah.
But it would be, again, Kemba doing a little of everything versus, and again, that's where I mentioned it to start. You see the low shot attempt, like you love this line from Marcus Smart, right? when he's got, more assists, 8 or 9 shots, 4 of 8, like that's a great Marcus Smart line. Is it a great Kemba Walker line? That's what we're trying to figure out now. Are you comfortable with this version of Kemba if this is what you get? And every once in a while, or do you need, as Barkley said or Shaq said, the guy who is doing that but also pumping in 17, 18 points a game, versus 10 or 12. You might need a little bit more output to tick it up, but also have that other stuff, because 23 point Kemba, I think, is gone. He's averaging about 17 for the year now. You'd like to see that while also, on just more efficient, as Sherrod said, is how did you get to that total? Did you get it going 4 for 7 or 4 for 17? It's nice to get to 17 points if he's shooting 6 for 13, 6 for 12, as opposed to having to jack 20 shots to get his points, which is not what this team needs. Because on a night Kemba's shooting 20 times, that's taking shots away from Jalen and Jason, and you don't want that. How many times you see Jalen just disappear for stretches?
That was my biggest point coming in this year.
Yeah.
How would he be useful on this team without getting in Jalen's way? Because Jalen's going to be getting on that ball and scoring more, and that needs to be the case every night. So I don't want to see Walker taking a lot of shots and taking possessions away from Brown. Brown's just a more efficient player and a more dynamic player at this point.
Yeah, but I think at the same time, though, you need Kemba to just he has to be that threat, right? I mean, if he's like 7 for 10, or if he's, something like that, teams aren't going to leave him open. I mean, regardless, even if he's having a cold night for the most part, right? They're not going to leave him, that open out there. But when he's a constant threat, because teams know that even if he hasn't scored in plus minutes or whatever, or if he's gone scoreless for the bulk of the first, 5 minutes, 6 minutes of a fourth quarter, he could still drop 2 back-to-back threes on you, and all of a sudden, you're going to call timeout.
You need to do that to be a great passer too. You can't just be taking no shots and trying to get to positions, and that's kind of how Smart became a great passer. Like, he wasn't the most efficient scorer, but he was getting to those spots and making himself a threat and showing that he was willing to take all those shots. The defenses had to react accordingly. Now this is Kemba. Defenses are gonna react anyway. But you know what I've noticed about him this month too? We've talked about this all season, John. Getting to the rim. He couldn't do it, period, to start this year.
That was the biggest concern, and especially last game. He got there. That's exactly it. It's that half step and just extending out in front of you. Just before, he was getting blocked every time,
and so he's finishing there, and he can pass from there, and defenses don't know which he's going to do. He's shooting 60% inside this month.
You guys joked about it where I put up that graphic that showed his 2-point shooting stats. But remember, he went through that spell where he just didn't score any points, any non-3-pointers.
Finished with like 6 points one game, and then
but he just couldn't do it. It was
0.
crazy.
I remember that graphic. It was like 20 points, 0 from 2.
Yeah.
Which is crazy.
No, but it was weird. It was remarkable because he was so so inefficient early. So yes, seeing him get to it's again, like Sherrod said, how he's getting his points.